So without further ado, welcome to today's WorldServer and Trados training. My name is Paul Penzo. I'm the CEO of All Languages. I'm very, very happy that you've made the time to attend, and to Virginia, Fleur, and Vincent for organizing this and hopefully answering all of your questions. Our goal obviously today is to make working with us easy and for you to become highly proficient in the SDL translation technology. Certifications of completion will be uploaded to your vendor management profiles for only to those of you who are our vendors. So please make sure that your profile is updated. Your ranking will go up as a result of it. And just one last comment before I hand over the floor to Fleur, who is going to be in charge and going to make us look fantastic, is that as a result of being here and having the certificate, you will receive a 40% discount on your Trados freelance license should you wish to purchase one. So without further ado, let the training begin. Fleur, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be giving this little training session today. So my name is Fleur. I've been working as a business consultant for SDL quite a long time. Actually, I am a translator, or I studied translation myself many years ago. And in 1997, I hadn't even finished my studies yet, and then I was hired by SDL, no, actually by Trados at the time. And that was in Brussels, and right now I'm living in the south of France and enjoying some good weather next to the work as well. So I'm going to share my screen, and my webcam is here, but my big screen is over there. So if I feel unpolite turning, I'm not turning my back to you, but I'm turning a little bit to that side to give the training. So let me share my screen. And let me know when you can see it. Virginia, can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, so for the training today, I have not prepared any PowerPoint slides. I think that we've all, with the Corona situation, we've probably been attending many different conferences, and I would say death by PowerPoint. It's right away the license, the application SDL Trados Studio that you're looking at. I'm going to show you also the welcome email, or the invitation email that you normally receive when All Languages sends you work. And I will go through the process of, how can you claim a job when a job is submitted? How can you then download the job? How can you work on it in Studio? So that's what we're going to look at today, showing the different features in Studio, obviously, and then afterwards also how you can make sure that the work is handed back to All Languages. So that's what we're going to look at today. I think that we might be dealing today with a mixed audience. Some of you might already be working with Studio, others not. So apologies if some things look too easy for some and too complex for others, but I'll do my best to make it useful for everybody. So first of all, the different screens in Studio. You have the welcome screen, obviously, when you open the application for the first time. And this is where you can simply browse to files normally when you start translating. And there are different links to little tutorial videos all over Studio, basically, but in the welcome view already. And everywhere, in every view where you click, so welcome, projects, files, etc., on the right-hand side, you always have a collection of useful tips. And these tips will be context dependent. So you will find other tips in the welcome view than in the project view, for instance. And up here, now I have the little bar of WebEx, which is a little bit in the way, but hopefully you can see it. Up here, you have the useful tips collection, where you can really just click and see all the different topics, tips for multi-term, tips for how to translate a single file, etc. And you also have a little link there, by the way, with all the available shortcuts in Studio. And since many people hate to work with the mouse, they prefer shortcuts, this can be useful to just print out. In the projects view, this is where you can have an overview of any projects that you are working on. Projects can consist of one single file, but maybe sometimes you also have to work on projects with many files. And then in the files view, you will actually see the files contained in the project that you have clicked on. In the report section, this is where you can view the analysis reports. So that is used obviously to see how much of your document was already available in the translation memory, how many exact matches, how many fuzzy matches. In the editor, that's where you're going to do your translation and review work. And there is a translation memories view where you can open up translation memories just to look at the contents. Now, I am working with a professional license. I'm not 100% sure anymore whether this view here, translation memories, whether you have that in a freelance license as well. So if you don't see it, don't worry too much. Now, what you see on the welcome view is actually a little bit confusing because in Studio 2021, which is the latest version of Studio, you see Open Project Package. And you will see in a minute that when I accept a job from all languages from the WorldServer portal, this downloads a package. And it says here that you can work with packages from SDL WorldServer. And so you will be very tempted to just click on the Open Project Package button to open the package that I'm going to download in a minute. Fact is, however, that since Studio 2021, the WorldServer package format is actually not anymore supported through this button here. There is a dedicated Open WorldServer package button, which is available as a plugin that you need to install. So I want to maybe start with that, just show you if you have Studio 2021, where you can download that plugin that you really need in order to work with the WorldServer packages. So in the welcome view, you see on the left-hand side the SDL App Store. If you click on that link there, you first of all see any plugins that you may have installed. But if you click on the App Store link on the left-hand side, just type in WorldServer. And immediately you will find the plugin that you actually need to download. So it's called the WorldServer Compatibility Pack for SDL Trados Studio. And you simply can click on this little link here to download that. As soon as you have downloaded it, there will be another link saying, click on this link to actually install it. So it is, let me see whether I can just click on that. So here you see download complete, go to your App Store downloads folder and launch the application installation. So if I click on that second link, this is the installer for the plugin. So this is what you would have to just double click on. It's really very simple. Just double click on this MSI file here. And after closing and reopening Studio, you will then see the plugin or the new button available in the project view, the Open WorldServer package button. If you don't have Studio 2021, but a previous version, actually, in that case, you can just click on the Open Project Package button. Okay, so different buttons, different commands, depending on the version of Studio that you use. Now let's have a look at the email, and you might all have received emails like this already. So Virginia had prepared a little test project for me so that I can show you how the process works. So I see there is a new task available for me on WorldServer. The email tells me that I need to claim the task before I start. And there is a link that I can click on. So let me do that. After clicking on the link, you will be asked to connect to the All Languages vendor portal. So I had added my username and password already and just click on login. And here I see the task that has been submitted to me. So I can see it has been assigned to me personally. Sometimes it might also be assigned to a group of people. In any case, whether it's assigned to you individually or to a larger group, you always need to claim a task first if you want to work on it. And just to see whether or not maybe you can do the task, you can see the amount of words, the total. You can see how many words have already been translated and how many words still remain to be done. So this obviously helps you decide also, you know, whether you can maybe make some time to finish this job or not. You can also, clicking on the asset, so the name of the file, by clicking on it, that actually downloads it onto your computer. So you can have a look at the source file in its native format. Let me click on claim first. As soon as you clicked on claim, you should see your name appear under the claimed by column. That's important. Sometimes there might also be on the right-hand side something called issues. And in this example here, the issue is not really an issue, it's actually more of an instruction. You know, Virginia has told me trademark should be translated by MC. So that's, in this case, just an important little remark for me to remember. Now, there are two different options. I can translate in Browser Workbench or in Studio. And what I want to do here is translate in Studio. So I click on that second option. And when doing that, the system will actually prepare an offline package that contains a copy of the translation memory, a copy of the term base, if there was any term base included in the project. And so I see here the package has been downloaded. Let me just put it in the all languages folder. And I will move and replace this one. And then when that's done, I can simply click on OK and close the window. Now, as I mentioned before, to open the project package, I go to the project view, click on the Open WorldServer package button, and browse to, well, wherever location on your PC, obviously, where you have stored the project package. And here, let me just make this a bit smaller. Here there is the import wizard, so I can have a look at the different import options. I can decide to generate the analysis statistics, so I know exactly how much work remains to be done, how many matches are already available in the translation memory. There are some settings as well for projects that already exist in Studio. In my case, the project doesn't exist yet, so I just ignore this and click on Next. Then the package is being imported. So obviously, depending on the size of your files, the size of the translation memory that was sent along, and the term base, the import might take a few seconds. And here, by default, Studio will always create, or at least if you tick this little box here, Studio will always create a project folder with the name of your project in my case, the default project folder location of Studio, which is after Documents, Studio 2021 Projects. So I just click on Finish. And the project will be available at the top of my project list. And double clicking on it automatically allows me to jump to the files view. And if I double click on this particular file once more, I can open it in the editor. And I can already see there is progress. We saw that also in the statistics earlier on. Part of the file was already translated and even reviewed, actually. So here I am in the editor view. If you want to have some more space on your screen, you can obviously minimize windows always. So for instance, this particular window, it allows you on the left-hand side to sort of navigate through the structure of your document. But personally, I don't use that a lot. So usually I just minimize this particular view. You can also, change the location of windows. You can start to drag and drop windows around. We will see in a minute when we have done some translation, you can have a real-time preview. And if you're lucky enough to have two different screens, you can actually drag the real-time preview on a second screen so that you can work in the editor on the one hand and have the real-time preview in the other. If not, my source text is on the left, target text on the right. So some segments have already been filled in automatically. And anything coming from the translation memory is normally shown in the translation results window up here, whereas any terminology is shown in the window on the right, the term recognition window. Now, the first segment actually is not text, it's just a tag. And if there are segments like this with only tags or only numbers, then Studio understands that this is something that doesn't need to be translated. It basically just needs to be handed or dropped from source into target. So that's why I get a so-called AT label associated to this segment. AT meaning automated translation. This has just been copied. So I can confirm this segment to move into the next. When it comes to tags, actually, there are different ways of viewing these tags. So if you want to have more information, more details, and want to know what a tag is about, when you click on the view, then you have here, on the right-hand side, different options to display the tags. So I think the default option, that's the one I'm using now, it's partial tag text. You can really minimize them, or you can really maximize them. So in this case, I see what these tags represent. And it's just a page value in my case. Confirming a segment, I was using a keyboard or a shortcut, but you have all the different commands which are available in Studio up here as well. And you see that behind you will see the different shortcuts. So the one that is used all the time, it's the first one here, Control-Enter. It means that your segment is stored in translation memory and Studio automatically opens the next segment and also looks up in the translation memory whether anything exists that can help you. And we don't get any matches from the translation memory for the second segment, but we do get some information coming from the term base. So I see here on the left-hand side, Paris Café, monthly chatter. These two terms are not underlined, but overlined with a red line, which means that they have been retrieved in the term base. And to take over the corresponding translations, it's enough to just start typing the first letters of a term and to press enter, or in, if you have different options, you can use your arrow keys to jump between several. Select the term that you want, click on enter to paste it in your document. When it comes to terminology, there is an inbuilt feature in Studio which allows Studio to check whether you have used the target terms as they were stored in a term base. So we call this terminology verification. And this is a feature which is not going to be activated automatically when you open up a WorldServer package. So if you don't, sometimes trust yourself, maybe the deadline is really short and you have to go really fast and you want to yourself make use of this terminology verification feature of Studio, where you can activate this is in your project settings. In the verification settings, You see here the terminology verifier. So if you expand this, click on verification settings, you have the option here to get a warning message whenever you do not use the target term as it was stored in the term base. So if I click on this here and I would later on forget to take over a particular term, then Studio would be giving me a warning message. So, journal mensuel. And the year, actually, you might be wondering why it's underlined with a blue line. Any element which is considered by Studio as a placeable element, so something which should be placed from source into target, but which doesn't really require translation. So this can be numbers like we have here, it can be measurements, it can be alphanumeric strings. When you see a blue line like this, then you have a way also to take over these elements easier. Of course, now, 2020, it's very easy to type it in, but sometimes you can have, I don't know, a very complicated product code or alphanumeric string. And instead of having to type this over, whenever you see a blue line, you can use the keyboard shortcut Control Comma. So Control Comma is a functionality which is called Quick Place, and which can be used to take over any non-translatable element, which can be, like we see here, the number. It can be the tag, and as we will see later on, it can also be sometimes formatting of a particular bit of your particular string or fragment within a longer sentence. For now, I just take this over. Well, let me you can ignore my translation. I'm Dutch normally, so I am translating normally from always into my native language. Of course, I'm not translating into French. So ignore any mistakes that I'm making. The purpose of today is not a translation training, but a training in Studio. So let me actually, on purpose maybe, make a mistake here. So you see what happens if you activate the terminology verification and you do not take over the target term as it was stored in the term base. When you make a mistake there, you get a warning message, so you clearly see it right away. You have this warning triangle. If I go over it, if I hover over it with my mouse, I can see the message description. If you want to have a look at the message, you can also see it in the messages window. So if you open it up, I can see target segment does not contain the translated term for Paris Café. Café Paris expected. So if you see anything like this, it can be an error sign, it can be a warning sign, or it can just be a note. But if you then try and correct your mistake, already, even without saving my or confirming my segment, you can see that the color has disappeared. And if I confirm the segment once more, it really disappears. You see, by the way, also the different statuses. So whenever there's a new segment which is empty, it has a status not translated. Whenever you start typing in something, it gets the status draft. Whenever you confirm something, it gets the status translated. And sometimes when a translation had already been approved, reviewed and approved, it has a status translation approved. So whenever you have some doubts maybe about a translation, sometimes you prefer to think about it a little bit more and maybe come back to this later. You can always decide to leave something in draft status because as we will see later, you also have different filtering options afterwards. And so you can always easily filter your file based on the segment status. Now, if you have something in the translation memory which is not exactly the same, but which is similar, then you get what we call a fuzzy match. So my new sentence is apparently 78% similar to something that was stored in a translation memory. And any differences will be marked with a track change. So I can see what I should focus on, what I should modify in my target segment. Sometimes it may also be that something which you could reuse, something that you translated before, and that's basically just a fragment, part of your longer sentence here, you might be able to sometimes see that in a fragment matches window. And actually, if I didn't have any fuzzy match, or if there was no sentence that resembled enough directly in the translation memory, then Studio these days, since Studio 2017, also performs a search based on fragments. And if you want to make use of those fragments, it's enough to just start typing the first letters of the fragment, and Studio will propose them to you automatically, and you can just click on Enter to paste them in your target segment. Well, actually, I'm just going to leave this as is. Looks good to me, this translation. Any new segment, actually, I'm getting a little information here. Again, this is the automated QA checks. So the fact that I get some message popping up, it is because the target segment was confirmed without prior editing. So you might see every now and then messages like this. It makes sense, obviously, for Studio to give a message when there is a fuzzy match, where normally there are some differences, and you just accept it without making any modifications. Okay. Again, let me on purpose make a little mistake here, or well, maybe I will do that a little bit later. When you have sentences across your document, or within the file that you have open, that are identical, actually this is a new sentence that has not been translated. It appears, or actually no, the other one, a paragraph is anything with a hard return after it. It appears several times in my file. And what Studio does when that happens is a feature which is called auto-propagation. So Studio understands that whenever there is the same sentence that repeats itself, the first time you confirm it, all the others will automatically become 100% match. Not confirmed yet, because maybe the context is different and maybe you do need to make some changes. But this feature, it's called auto-propagation. And if you want to maybe check whether you translated these things in the same way, at the end, you can always right-click in a segment like that. Indicate that you want to filter on the source text. And that gives you an overview of all those, occurrences, all those repetitions within your file. And so, well, at the moment, I'm just going to accept them all as is. So instead of having to manually change the status or confirm them, I can also highlight everything that is visible in my screen in one go, select everything in one go. Keyboard shortcut for this is Alt-Shift-A. When you select everything in one go, you can always see that it gets this yellowish orangey color. And when I then right-click in the segment ID number, I can change the status of all these segments in one go to translated. So this source and target filter, that's actually something that is new in Studio 2021. So if you have a previous version, you don't have this kind of option. Since Studio 2021, what I'm using actually at the moment, it's called the Advanced Display Filter. And in my Advanced Display Filter, Studio has automatically written what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for segments which contain this particular string in the source, and Studio will only show then those segments. Within the advanced display filter, there's actually many more things that you can filter on. One good example, or very useful, I find, it's under the segment tab. It's segments with tags. So if you are working on a document that contains many tags, tags represent most often the layout. You know, we have a few examples here behind me on the screen. I can see the picture tag, I can see a footnote tag, and obviously it's important for you to take those over, because otherwise, well, the footnote won't be working or the picture will not show. So it's important to check these tags. So if you want to do a check at the end of your translation, you can always filter on segments with tags as well. You can also filter on colors. So yeah, if for some reason you need to check everything in pink, then you can simply select that, click on apply filter and view that. Or as I said, filter attributes. So if you have gone through a long translation and you want to have a second look at all the segments that you left in draft status, under the filter attributes, you click on draft, click on apply filter, and you would see that. And you can also combine different filters. So I won't go through all the details here, but the filtering options are definitely very useful. And if you have previous version of Studio, so not Studio 2021, but earlier versions, then there is always a filter available as well under the Review tab. So under Review, here you have different filters available as well. It's just that the choice isn't as big as in the advanced display filter these days. Okay, let's go back to my translation. I can see here that the tags have automatically been copied into my target segment, but I still need to add the translation, of course. So so here, if I would accidentally delete a tag and confirm my segment, you also see that Studio gives, in this case, even an error message. Because tags, I mentioned it before, they represent the formatting, the layout, so it's quite important you take those over. So hopefully these messages will already allow you to autocorrect yourself. Okay, so if I go back, how can you take over a tag? There are different ways. You can use the same keyboard shortcut as I have shown you before, the quick place, Control, which is used for any, non-translatable information from the source that you want to take over in the target. So for me, that's the best shortcut to remember, Control, quick place. Other than that, let me just tell you this. If I click on Control and I click on holding the Control key, click on the tag that I want to take over, that's another way of doing it. Okay, depends a bit on your preferences. The second one means that you need to use the mouse, which is never very nice. So Control, is better. So this is the particular footnote reference. Important, of course, that I translate this. I can see also on the right-hand side of the editor, the document structure information. So heading, paragraph, a footnote, FN. So you have these different things. And again, in the advanced display filter, this is also information you can use to filter on, if required. So sometimes there might be a table in Word and maybe Virginia tells you, please don't translate the table. You could actually filter out anything with the document structure information, TC for table cell, for instance, and you could then reverse the filter, because you have that as well. So look for something and then reverse the filter to see exactly the opposite. Alors, café gratuit uniquement quand on achète une viennoiserie, something like that. If you have a translation memory that doesn't have many proposals, it is important to note that Studio, apart from showing you entries from the translation memory, showing you entries from the term base, can also automatically suggest fragments or terms coming from what we call an auto-suggest dictionary. So auto-suggest dictionaries are normally generated based on a bigger translation memory. So all the frequently occurring bits and pieces in a translation memory are put in some sort of table called the auto-suggest dictionary. And this is something that you can add yourself to projects as well. There exist different auto-suggest dictionaries coming from the European Union. So if it's worthwhile to have a look on the App Store to see if there's any language combination that you can use. You see here one English into French. There is also an auto-suggest dictionary delivered when you install Studio. When you install Studio, there's always a sample project, which you can, with sample files that you can download. And within that sample project, you have, well, a sample term base, TMs, and also 2 different auto-suggest dictionaries, one for English into French and one for English into German. So let me maybe add these to my project. And where you add those auto-suggest dictionaries, it's under the specific language combination. So translation memories are always added under the all language pairs, but the auto-suggest dictionary option, you find it under the particular language combination of your project. So there you just click on add, select the language combination of your project and click on OK. And you will see you can't really, guess in advance when you will get a proposal or not, but sometimes you might start typing some words and you have some options from there as well. Now, let me take example of segment number 15, which is an interesting example because I get a fuzzy match, but a fuzzy match with some sort of strange symbol. It's a wrench symbol, and it means that Studio has tried to correct your fuzzy match automatically to make it a 100% match. And so this is a feature in Studio which is called fragment match repair. If you want to see what your segment looked like before the repair, you can also undo the so-called repair. So if I click on that, just watch what is happening. You see actually that un paragraphe standard, Studio had automatically added the italics. But if you want to undo that and add it yourself, then of course you are free to do so. Again, this is something which is very recent, the automatic adding of formatting information by Studio. And that is new in the latest service release of Studio 2021. But if you want to do it yourself, how to take over formatting, we have 2 examples in segment number 15. There is one bit of the sentence that is in pink. The way you take over formatting, simply you select the part in your target sentence which should get the particular formatting. Then again, same shortcut, Control, comma. And you see that Studio basically offers me 2 types of formatting which have been retrieved in a source segment. If I use my arrow keys, I can jump between one and the other. Studio will highlight the bit which is corresponding. So I can decide, okay, is it this that I want or is it this that I want? And obviously what you need to take over, you just click on enter and Studio will add the formatting to your target text. Here it's the italics. Now you do have the buttons, formatting buttons up here, but I recommend that for bold, italics, underline, it's better to just use the keyboard shortcut Control, comma, and take it over directly from the source, because that way you are really sure that the tags, which are behind here, because it is actually the tags, formatting tags that allow these sentences to be formatted in this way. In most cases, or wherever is possible, Studio will hide these tags to make it more user-friendly for the translator. So it's a WYSIWYG, it's a what you see is what you get view. But in reality, I will show you. No, actually, for this particular example, I can't show, but I can guarantee that in reality, there are tags behind it, and that's why I have to take over using the keyboard shortcut Control, comma. Now, I should not forget the little trademark sign, and in the notes in the portal of all languages, remember there was this little note, trademark should be translated by MC. So I had that information available already, so I can just add MC, but of course it needs to get it needs to be added in superscript. So I just highlight this, and for the superscript, you can use actually this button here. There is a keyboard shortcut for it as well. Control Shift plus to add the information on this superscript to your little trademark sign in French. Here again, different examples of fuzzy matches. Of course, you can choose yourself between the different options, but normally Studio will always place the match with the highest value, so the match that is most similar to what you have done before, as the first example. So let me just add the different sample, un autre exemple de phrase. So here you see that when I start typing my verb here, this is what happens thanks to the auto-suggest dictionary that I had added to my project. So this is working like predictive typing. Normally, it is more intelligent than predictive typing on your iPhone, for instance, because it does look at the context, of your sentences. But yeah, when you start typing and you see something that you can use, you just click on enter to paste it in your document. And here I have proposals from the term base. You see it also in the term recognition window, and you see it, the little icon before the proposal. When it says AZ, it's for like the dictionary. It is the icon for terms coming from multi-term. Whereas the blue database icon, it's the one used for the auto-suggest dictionary. If in some cases you might have, different terms from multi-term and then different terms from your auto-suggest dictionary, if you say, well, multi-term is more important, I really want to focus on that and only see that, then you can also escape this little window here. So click on escape. And then when you click on, sorry, no, wrong shortcut. Essayez votre... I have to think myself because I'm not using this often enough. Control Shift L. Control Shift L is the shortcut that you can use to see only the entries coming from your term base. Okay, so just write it down somewhere, Control Shift L, to see only the term base entries if you have a mix of entries coming from auto-suggest and term base. Now I'm not going to go through the entire translation here. I think that we saw yeah, most of the important features. This one here is still important because there is, again, yeah, there are tags that I need to take over. Tags which represent the link, the URL, which will make the link work also in the target document. So obviously, again, this is important information to take over. Donc, here, pour la restauration de votre prochaine réunion. Actually, let me on purpose make a little spelling mistake here. Réunion où vous faites contactez-nous ici. Okay, and then I say site Café Paris. So here in this case, I just basically put my cursor in between the two tags and I type the text in. If I accidentally delete one of the tags, then you still see it appear, but it's sort of grayed out. So we call this a ghost tag. And when you see that, you know that there is an issue somewhere. You know that you have actually deleted the opening tag, or the other way around. You might have deleted the closing tab, and you have to make sure that they are both there. Or if you are absolutely sure that they should not be there, then at least you have to make sure that you delete the second one as well. So the ghost tag will disappear. Put them back. Same thing, same shortcut, Control comma for quick place. So I select the part around which these two tags should be placed. Click on Control comma, click on Enter, and there you go. My tags are both there. For spell checks, you can see that whenever you make a spelling error, you see it highlighted, or there's this little curly line. Works just like in Microsoft Word. By the way, depending on your preferences, you can actually choose between two different spell checkers in Studio. By default, it is the Hunspell spell checker. So you can find which one you use under File, Options. Editor, and then spelling. So the default spell checker is Hunspell, but you can also use Microsoft Word. And if you use Microsoft Word, then actually Studio will simply take over all your settings from Word. So also if you have, you know, personalized, customized dictionaries in Word, then Studio will just take these over as they are. So two different options. I'm not 100% sure whether all languages wants you to work with one or the other, but in any case, this is where you can change these settings. File, Options, Editor, Spelling. So for me, I just right-click on the wrongly spelled term, and I can then correct it. Now, for all the remaining segments, I'm going to do something naughty. I'm going to use the display filter here and say I'm going to filter on not translated. Oh, actually everything has already something. Oh, let me just clear this filter and or draft and or not translated. And here I will just be naughty and say copy all source to target. Okay, so that we have something in there. Now, of course, I don't recommend that you do this, and I will select everything and give it a status translated. Now, when you're done with your work, of course, it's important to have an idea what it's actually going to look like. So on the right-hand side of your screen, and again, there are some windows for me in the way here. On the right-hand side, you have a preview window. So if you hover over these things on the right-hand side of the screen with your mouse, windows will be opening because by default, they are in auto hide mode. So when you go on them with your mouse, they will appear. When you click somewhere else in your text, they will disappear. So the real-time preview, if I click on the link here, then Studio will generate a preview of your target document. So you can, if all goes well, view, you know, if the pictures are still there, if the footnote is there. Here you see the little trademark. You can make this bigger or smaller. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation, if you're lucky enough to have 2 different screens, you can actually really take this window and drag and drop it onto your second screen. There is also a side-by-side possibility. So if you say, well, it looks okay, but I can't really remember what it looked like in the source document, there is a side-by-side option. Okay, I have a little script error here. So here, yeah, you probably really need to make the screen a bit bigger to really see this properly, but you can see better, you know, where there may be somewhere you have to add a little return. Maybe you can see whether there are extra spaces. So here I have the impression that there is some formatting maybe missing, or a heading which is missing. And whenever you click somewhere in this window, Studio will also jump to the corresponding segment in the editor, and the other way around as well. So if you click somewhere in the editor, you can see what it corresponds to in the preview. And there are 2 different preview options. So you have the HTML preview. You also have the Word preview. And if you select that second one, then actually the target file will open up in Word. So you really see it in the Word format. But you can still make changes and then update the preview once more to see what it will become. Okay, I'm just checking. There was something that I wanted to show you still in segment. No, there was an example somewhere here, yes. Here, obviously, when you translate in French after colon, double point, you have to add a space. And if I add a normal space and I save this, then I have an error message, because actually in the settings of the project rated by all languages, it says that before these kind of segmentation marks, I shouldn't add a normal space, I should add a non-breaking space. And so non-breaking spaces, you have that available in the menu up here. If I can get the window out of the way. That's the annoying thing with WebEx. I don't really know how to get rid of the, I'm not sure you see this actually, what I have on my screen, but I have the WebEx bar. The non-breaking space, you have it in the quick insert menu up here. And for those of you who don't like the mouse, you can also just remember, or try to remember the shortcut if you have a lot of those, Control-Shift-Space. Okay, so if I remove this and I say Control-Shift-Space, that adds a non-breaking space. And if I then confirm the segment, the error message goes away. Not sure what the script error is about here. I haven't seen that. Maybe I shouldn't have done this side-by-side view in HTML. Okay. Apart from the spell check, which we saw in interactive mode, You can also run a spell check on the whole of the file at the end. So just like you can do also in Word. So you find that under the Review tab. You have it over here. Check spelling. So the shortcut is F7 to check the spelling. And I can also run a QA check against all the verification settings defined in a project by clicking on F8. So if I do F7, probably I will have a lot of issues here, so I won't go through all of them because I cheated and I left many sentences actually in English. So obviously that's not recognized by the French dictionaries. But yeah, you can run the spell check, F7, and go through the different potential issues that have been detected by Studio. And if I click on F8, then Studio will run a check. So if there were any, things that I should have seen already when I confirmed segments, but that I ignored maybe because I wanted to go too fast and the deadline was very short, then when you click on F8 at the end of your translation, in any case, you will have an overview in the messages window of all the potential issues that Studio has detected. And if you click on them, double click in the icons here, already just clicking once on them, that basically allows you to jump to the sentence. If you double click on it, it opens up so-called verification window. And you can from there also go through these things one by one. Some things Studio might be able to change for you. So in that case, you would have the change option, not grayed out, but available. If not, you can, do it directly in Studio or say ignore. Here I get a terminology verification error. I didn't take over the term from the term base. If you click on ignore, then the message will disappear. If you say, well, I want to keep the message, but I would just want to come back to it later, then don't click on ignore, click next, okay? Because if you click on ignore here, then the message will really disappear and you won't see it again. And of course, anything that you have left in there, you will also be able to still see it in the document. Okay, when you're done, obviously you save the file. If you continue working on the file the next day because you're not entirely finished, then save it, close it, and make sure that the next day when you want to start working, don't do the mistake, make the mistake that many translators do. Many translators, they, open up Studio in the home view, and then they're going to browse to the bilingual file that they worked on the day before. If you do that, you're actually going to create a brand new project, which has nothing to do anymore with the WorldServer project that you downloaded. So if you do that, you will also not be able to create a return package for WorldServer. So if you want to continue working on something that you worked on already, then normally the project will still be there in your list. So you just go to the projects view, and the file will still be there as well. So to continue working on it, you just open it for translation and continue or finish off the work that you were supposed to deliver. From here, let me show you how to create a return package. So in the project, you see that when I select the project, apart from opening WorldServer package, I now also have the option to return a WorldServer package. So if I click on the link here, obviously the progress should normally be completed, but I cheated a little bit. Studio will have remembered the server from the portal from all languages. So normally there's nothing you need to do there. You can leave that ticked. If you click on fast import, that means that Studio will transfer the return package, but will not wait for WorldServer to process the files. So if you are in a hurry, then, well, you could click on fast import. If not, it's probably better to check, because you will get a message that the file has been processed successfully, that the TM has been updated, etc. So depending on how much time you have, leave the fast import option open. Leave a little message for whomever assigned the job to you. And then when you click on finish, you see that this is actually the process that if you click on fast import, you don't necessarily see, but it shouldn't take too long anyway. So I recommend that you just wait for it to finish this job. So here you see all the information, saving asset, updating the live translation memory. One of one asset is imported successfully. So there you know that you can finish your day in peace. Everything has been delivered correctly. So with that, let me just check my little list here. I think that I have told you most of the things. Of course, there are many, many other things in Studio that you can do. But for now, I think it's enough. So let me stop sharing and see if you have any questions. Looking at the chat window. So for now, I just see thank you messages.
Fleur, there's a few questions in the Q&A window. If you can't see, I'm more than happy to read them to you.
I see. Where is the preview which shows the matches in the earlier version? The preview which shows the matches. The matches, I mean, the matches coming from the translation memory in the earlier version in Studio 2019, the matches window has always been in the same location. So that hasn't changed. Maybe I misunderstand the question, but to preview matches, nothing has changed. What is the window between target and source text called? It's where the tag, error, AT, fuzzy match, etc. messages appear. I'm not sure it has a name. For me, it's just the column in between source and target text. And indeed, it indicates whether something is a fuzzy match, whether something has been automatically propagated from one segment into the other. I'm not sure the column has a name. I only have Studio 2019. What should I do? Well, upgrade. No, I'm just kidding. Studio 2017 supports WorldServer packages, so you can basically do almost everything I showed you today. The only thing you don't have what I showed you today is the advanced display filter. But I think there might even exist a plugin for that, which you can download from the App Store to still add it to your Studio 2017 as well. And in Studio 2017, to open packages, you have the Open Package button. And I think that when you right-click and click on Create Return Package, I think that there is a direct link to WorldServer as well. Like so, the uploading of the project package back should work the same way. If not, then it means that you right-click, you create a return package, and then you just manually actually go to the portal, and you have the upload return package option in the portal as well. But yeah, in recent Studio versions, the upload of the packages is easier because you only have to right-click and the connection to WorldServer is made automatically. How do you make the font bigger in Trados so it's easier to see? For that, I have to share my screen again. So let me just see whether there's other things that I should share or show live. There is a question about the SDL starter version, whether it allows to use the TM feature and create packages. SDL Studio Starter, it's really the lightest version, I should say, of Studio that we have. It allows not to create packages, but it allows you to open packages. So when you open so if somebody outsources work to you, like I showed you today, then you can use it. You can use it to open the WorldServer package, and you will be able to create a return package. But you cannot create your own projects and create your own package to outsource work. So you cannot basically play the project manager role. But other than that, you can definitely use the TM features and everything. What is the price? I don't know anything about prices, but Vincent is there for that. And I'm sure you can check with him and Virginia. I know that there is a discount, but I don't know anything about prices. Isn't that nice, by the way? I'm not familiar with any of these programs. Is All Languages offering a course about this? Well, the course was actually what we are doing today, but there are other tutorials available as well. Will the discount apply to an update of Trados Studio 2019? Again, that's a commercial question that I'm not able to answer. Will there be more sessions available in the near future? Well, we can see based on the particular demands that you have, we can see whether this is considered useful by everybody and whether it's something that we could repeat. Is there a step-by-step tutorial or a course we could take? There are definitely courses, so there are, official e-learning modules that you can take from SDL, but there is a lot of information also available there is a YouTube channel. So if you click on SDL Trados YouTube, there is a channel with many different tutorial videos, and within Studio as well. Let me just show you this also together with the other question on fonts. What if you have to change the sequence of tags? Using the keyboard shortcut Control, comma, you can basically place the tags wherever you like. You might sometimes get a warning message if you place the order of tags, but normally you should not get an error and you should be able to save your text. Okay, let me just share once more my screen if I manage to answer the question on where you change the font. Let me reopen the file. So the easiest way to change the font, it's under the view tab on the right hand side. So right next to where you have also the options how to display tags, you have the font adaptation. So if you activate the font adaptation, so I activate it now, then you will see, just look at the editor view and how this changes. If I click here, Studio will give everything the same size. And you can then click on the plus or minus to make it bigger or smaller in every way you like, any way you like. If you click on this once more, you're back to how it normally was. Also, whatever you do here, you don't have to worry that this is actually going to be, affecting your target file. The font adaptation here is really just for you, your own view in the editor to make it more user-friendly. And the other thing that I wanted to say for tutorial videos, etc., if you click on the Help tab in Studio, you see here this button directly brings you to the YouTube channel with the tutorial videos. This button here brings you to the forums. So there are thousands of users part of these forums. And so if I click on this, you can decide if you have a question about Studio, if you have a question about multi-term, if it's a general question, licensing and installation. So all these are forums. Clicking on the chapter brings you to the general forum where you can navigate. Clicking on the plus sign immediately allows you to ask a new question. And of course, you have the online help available as well. So hopefully that should help you to get started. Okay, Virginia, Paul, I don't know if you have anything to add here.
No, just super thank you. I think this was very useful, and just by reading the chat, I do see that our translators and interpreters also thought this was very useful. I think we have answered all of the questions that came up for now. So I think we just want to thank you for your time and for doing this for us. I think that was really, really good. I did send a couple of information in the chat. All Languages has compiled a Trados Quick Start Guide. So all of our vendors have access to that by logging into WorldServer on the homepage, as well as some other online resources that will be very useful. And if anyone has any further questions, feel free to email us at All Languages directly, and we'll be able to get back to everybody.
Yeah, any open questions, Virginia, maybe people can just send them to you. In any case, you organize a session, so you also have the chat available. So anything that we didn't answer, you can just forward to me, and if I cannot easily explain just in words, I will try to add some screenshots to make it clear.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Paul has anything else? If not, thank you everybody for attending. Vincent, Fleur, it was a pleasure. And I think that's it.
Yes, on behalf of All Languages, thank you to everybody for taking the time to join us today. I wish you all the best and hope to be working with you soon. Thanks.